After being struck by lifetime bans, Sheldon and Mabrey are now out there criticizing the league, claiming that Kathy Engelbert paid them to remove Caitlin Clark. This cannot be made up. But hold on, things get even stranger. As it happens, the referees were also complicit. Yes, these are no longer merely poor decisions. Kathy freaking Engelbert herself was paying them off right from the outset. The same woman who appears on television to discuss player protection and game expansion. Yes, she was out here like a boss of the mob, cutting checks. And Sheldon and Mabrey, two exalted role players who were unable to save their careers with a shot, concluded that playing dirty and earning money was the only way to remain relevant. Not that they were hooping. In a jersey, they were out here performing hit jobs. As if it were the UFC, the referees texted Caitlin for breathing too loudly and letting her elbows fly. Now hurry up! That officiating isn't horrible. It's a setup. This is no longer basketball. This is sneaker corruption. And because the WNBA was recently exposed in the most damaging way, let's examine how far this goes. In other words, they were hired to go after the biggest star in the WNBA, not just to play physical. The wildest portion comes next. They claim that no dubious outside influence provided the funding. The commissioner herself, Kathy Engelbert, provided it. Drama is no longer the only thing here. This is top-down sabotage. The fact that they didn't simply stop with the players makes it more uglier. They also claim that the referees were complicit. The overlooked cheap shots, the missed calls, and the texts directed at Clark. All of a sudden, everything made sense. Have you ever witnessed such a league turn against its own star? What's the endgame here, really? Why would Kathy want the league's public face, Caitlin Clark, to be the target? There's a horrible scent. The Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun game on June 18th was meant to be just another game, but instead it became a disastrous lesson in how not to run a professional league. By now, you've most likely seen the clip. Caitlin Clark gets a direct poke in the eye from JCS Sheldon. Twice, no. And that wasn't just any bump. It was blatantly malevolent, soiled and targeted. At a dead ball, Mabrey decided to put Clark on the floor like it was WrestleMania just when it seemed like things couldn't get much worse. Who even does that, really? I have a question for you. What would happen if LeBron James was tackled during a timeout, in your opinion? DEFCON 1 would be the league. Investigations, suspensions, and press conferences. The WNBA, meanwhile, pretended that this was just another workday. Do you think that's correct? There was no rivalry here. It wasn't intense. This job was a hit, and everyone on that court seemed to be aware of it. This is where things start to go south. The refs who witnessed Clark's mauling and then gave her the technical that evening. Yes, it seems that they had some knowledge. They received payment. Insider rumors and intercepted communications indicate that the physical play wasn't merely approved by Kathy Engelbert. She allegedly encouraged the referees to ignore it, telling them to restrict Clark and keep the game nasty. When a player dominates the league, it's your responsibility, container. If all indications are correct, then poor officiating is no longer an issue. We are discussing corruption, a concerted inside takeover. Recall how Sheldon got to poke someone in the eye and leave after Clark was reprimanded for overrejoicing following a game-winning three? Have you ever watched a game and thought it was rigged? Because it felt like it was rigged. How did Sheldon and Mabrey react then? You will love this, I'm sure of it. Mabrey was seen on tape making fun of supporters, calling people insane, and laughing at the whole event as if it were a joke. She also pretended that it was just another Tuesday. She had no regrets. Not that she was defensive. She was quite brazen about it. She also claimed that people couldn't handle the truth when they demanded accountability. Additionally, JC Sheldon became extremely quiet, as if every word, not even a repost, just vanished into the background. Jackie, why the silence? Did someone urge you to be quiet, or are you hiding? Then lifelong bans are dropped like a bomb. Not only because of the brutality, but also because they acknowledge that it was all a part of a bigger scheme. The league's motto is to not snitch. But you know what? Now that the truth is out, fans are paying attention. Do you know anyone we haven't discussed enough? Engelbert, Kathy freaking out. Commissioner of the WNBA. The lady whose job it is to keep the league and its players safe. The person who speaks on television about growth and empowerment. She is supposedly making checks like a crime boss behind the scenes, though. It was because of her that Clark was singled out. The referees ignore her because of her. Sheldon and Mabrey believe they would never be caught because of her. Why would she act in this way? Basic power. The league is unable to keep up with the rapid rise in Clark's popularity. Kathy wished she would slow down, show that there are other players in the league. But you know what? At the moment, it sort of does. And she attempted to shatter it rather than accept it. Let's not pretend any longer. Caitlin Clark is the WNBA right now. Like it or not, she's the reason millions are finally paying attention to a league that's struggled for mainstream relevance for years. The numbers don't lie. Every week, she sells out arenas, breaks attendance records, and moves merchandise like it's the playoffs. When she was injured, the ratings dropped. When she returned, viewership soared to 2.2 million, one of the highest in league history. And yet, instead of being celebrated, she's being criticized, ridiculed, and in some cases even targeted. Is this how you treat your biggest star? Caitlin isn't just an elite athlete, she's a movement. She's brought new fans, money, and media attention to the league in ways that can't be ignored. Still, she's being portrayed as a villain, isolated by her peers, and treated more like a threat than a trailblazer. Why? Is it jealousy? Is it resistance to change? Whatever the reason, it sends a dangerous message, not just to Caitlin, but to every fan watching. It tells players they're expendable. It tells fans that performance doesn't matter. And it tells Clark that despite everything she's done for the league, she's on her own. And honestly, she might leave. Europe offers more money, more respect, and less drama. If she walks, how many fans will walk with her? Because this isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about the future of the league, about how it treats its stars, about whether it values integrity and leadership. If the WNBA continues to ignore what's happening, it won't just lose Caitlin Clark. It will lose the trust of the people who believe this league could finally become something bigger. So ask yourself, was all of this just coincidence? Or was Caitlin Clark set up to fail? What message is the WNBA sending if Commissioner Kathy Engelbert remains in charge, and this situation with Caitlin Clark continues to be ignored? It tells players they are expendable, no matter how much they contribute. It tells fans that truth and fairness don't matter as long as the league continues to move forward. And it sends a devastating message to Caitlin Clark that even after revitalizing the league, after bringing in record-breaking viewership, merchandise sales, and ticket demand, she still stands alone. Let's be real. If this atmosphere doesn't change, she might leave. And can you blame her? Europe offers not only higher pay but also more respect and a lot less drama. So the real question is, how many fans would leave with her? Because at this point, people aren't just watching the WNBA, they're watching Clark. And this isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about integrity. It's about protecting players. It's about holding leadership accountable and addressing a system that, if left unchecked, could push away the very stars it needs to survive. If there's any truth to the idea that officiating or player conduct was influenced to target Caitlin Clark, that must be investigated transparently and immediately. No delays, no next season. Action is needed now. Because if the league fails to respond, it won't just lose Clark. It will lose the trust of fans who believed this league stood for something greater. So now I ask you, was all this just a coincidence? Or was Caitlin Clark being set up to fail? If you support Clark, press that like button. And if you believe leadership needs to change, drop a comment below and let your voice be heard.